Hi, let's get us warmed up by doing this whiteboard activity. Alright, so Hannah biked 18 miles in 3 hours. If she was biking at a constant rate, that means going the same speed every time. How fast is she going per hour? This is a really easy problem if you remember that per hour is just per 1. So it's like fraction work. What would we have to do to 3 to get to 1? We'd have to divide it by 3. So we'd have to divide the top by 3 as well. So if she was going 18 miles in 3 hours, she actually traveled 6 miles per hour. So if Emmy biked 14 miles in 2 hours, same type of thing, you'd have to divide 14 by 2 to get 7 miles per hour. And if Maggie biked 16 miles in 4 hours, again I'll do this the same way as I did the first one, 16 in 4 hours, we want to know how fast she went in 1 hour, so we'd have to divide by 4, so 16 divided by 4 is 4 miles per hour. So this is the start of a new unit. The unit is proportional relationships. These are the two main learning targets. You're going to be required to graph proportional relationships, which you'll learn what that is, interpreting the unit rate, which is what we were just working with, pretty easy, huh, as the slope of the graph, and you're going to have to compare two different relationships. So you might be comparing a table to a graph, or a table to an equation, or an equation to a graph, all thinking about the unit rate as the slope. We're also going to be using similar triangles in this unit to explain why the slope is the same between any 2 points on a non-vertical line. This might not make sense to you now, but it will. Today, though, we're going to start easy, and we're just going to review rates, unit rates, and proportions. And this is where you should start taking notes. A rate is just a comparison of two quantities that have different units. For example, miles to hours, ounces to dollars, or dollars per ounce, words per minute. So anything that there's two different quantities, you can find the rate. So, for example, if someone drove 90 miles in 3 hours, we could write this in a few ways, with words like we just did, or we could say 90 to 3, or we could use the colon, 90 to 3, or what we're going to be doing most often in this unit is making it look like a fraction. So a rate can look like a fraction, 90 to 3. So 90 miles to 3 hours. Second example, I can type 120 words in 4 minutes. We could write that using the word to, so 120 to 4, or with the colon, or we could write it like so it looks like a fraction. So again, a rate is just a comparison of two quantities. Alright, so a unit rate is a special rate. A unit rate is a rate that compares the quantity to one only, so only one of the other. So this is where we have a per 1. For example, per 1 mile, or per ounce. How many dollars per ounce? Or per hour in this case. So there's 90 miles in 3 hours. So if we wanted to know per 1, this goes back to our whiteboard activity. We can just divide 90 by 3 to get 30 miles per 1 hour. If you could type 120 words per 4 minutes, we want to know just per 1 minute. That's unit rate, per 1. So we'd divide 120 by 4 to get 30 words per 1 minute. Okay, and the last vocabulary is the word proportion. A proportion just states that two ratios, or rates, are equivalent. So what we were dealing with in the last example, equal to another one. So is 12 fifths equal to 24 tenths? There's a few ways that we can figure that out, but proportions can be solved using cross products. A cross product is where you take the numerator of one and multiply it by the denominator of the other. So 12 times 10, and put it equal to the other cross product. So the other numerator and the other denominator, 24 times 5. So 12 times 10 is 120, and 24 times 5, if you don't know that, you can grab a calculator or do it off to the side. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 10 plus 2, 120. We can see that the numerator and the denominator multiplied here and here equal one another. So this is a true proportion. So if you're ever checking to see if a proportion is true, just do that cross multiplication to check it. We can also use it to find an unknown though. So a helicopter used for firefighting travels 25 miles in 20 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take them to reach a fire that is 60 miles away? So the first thing I do in solving a problem like this is find my variables. So I'm talking miles per minute. And I set up my first ratio, 25 miles in 20 minutes. And I'm going to put that equal to my second one. I want to know how long it will take the helicopter to reach a fire that's 60 miles away. Well, miles I have in my numerator, so I'm going to put the 60 in my numerator, and my unknown is how long or the number of minutes, so that's going to go in my denominator. And I'm going to do that cross multiplying. 25 times x looks like 25x, and 60 times 20 is 1200. And then I can solve this equation. It's multiplied, so I'm going to divide. So x equals, and I know because I did this before, 25 goes into 1200, 48 times. So it would take, so my answer is it would take 48 minutes to reach a fire that's 60 miles away. All right, last example. Leah's reading a 374-page novel for her English class. It takes 6 days to read the first 132 pages. So that's my first ratio. Pages to days. So Lee read 132 pages in 6 days. If she continues reading at the same rate, how many more days, so that's my unknown, so days is in the denominator, so my x is going to go in the denominator, will it take for her to finish the novel? Well, what do I put in my numerator? Well, it tells me that the novel is 374. So I'm going to put 374 up there. And then I'm going to do my cross multiplying. 132 times x, 132x, and that equals 374 times 6. And again, I did that math before, so I know that it equals 2,244. So it's multiplied. X is multiplied by 132, so I'm going to divide by 132. So x is 2,244 divided by 132 is 17. So my answer is, at first glance, 17, but it says how many more days. She's already read 6. So if it took her 17 to read the entire book and she's already read 6, it would be 11 days because she's already read 6 of the 17. So be careful with how that question is worded. How many days versus how many more days. And that is your last example. You can start your assignment now.